When there's a tragedy like that, it can break families apart. How was the relationship with your parents? While you were in that haze?
Well, my dad was having an affair, and I don't mean to discredit my father here, but 6 months after my, or 9 months or a year after my, yeah, no, 6 months after my brother died, the girl he was with, she had a child. So it completely smashed us. And I think a lot of people sort of, and I don't want to decry my dad because he was a lovely old boy, but people lost respect for him because he left my mum. He didn't know he was gone. The old man was gone. And so my mother sort of grabbed hold of my brother's newborn baby and the mother of that of Charles, and she took them home to the house, and she sort of self-medicated on. My mum's threshold was always love, the love, an action. It was always an action of love. So she sort of just stayed on her own, broken-hearted. My sister run off to her life, and I was out of my nut, and my dad went to live in Ibiza. So it was just completely the closeness of the family was broken, and I think that was a biggie as well.
So you progress to work with a crime syndicate. How does that come about?
So I'm very careful what I say, and I don't want to sort of mention people's names at all.
Yeah, let's not do that.
And all I can do is talk about what I got arrested for. But there was lots of stuff that went on. So what happened is, after this sort of affair, the breakdown, I had to get away. And so my father had a number of connections out in Morocco. And he said, do you fancy going out there? Which I did. And I went to live in Spain again. With not a lot of money, enough to sort of get this enterprise going, and they was Italians, Bosnians, a few Americans in there. There was the transportation, I believe. This will come out in the newspaper allegedly for a big cocaine operation coming out of South America. That wasn't us. But we used the same transport. We didn't know that, and we started to sort of play around in Morocco and into the UK, and then we bought a huge amount home on a boat, on a fishing boat. Well, we never bought it home. We was the entry, and that got aborted in the Bristol Channel in '92. A huge amount. And then the following November, they was following us quite intense. After Joe and the old man had been nicked at the late 80s, it was on the both of them. And I think they fitted Joe up. And Joe got 14 years for something completely different. And they wanted the old man and all. And so we went to work with smuggling cannabis. And in '93, November '93, in a place called Bideford in North Devon. There was armed officers there. There was 17 of us, so there was about 60 officers there. I think there was about 10 armed, 12 armed, all night sights, and it was like a bit of a scene from a film. And we got nicked, and that was in 1993.
Just slowing this down a bit then. What was it like arriving in Morocco? What's that like?
Yeah, I used to love it there. Morocco was fantastic in Tangiers. And a friend of a friend, I can't say names, but there was a lady who lived out there, and she was a sort of a little bit, come from a wealthy background, quite posh. And up in the Rift Valley, there was a lot of sort of ex-Brits living out there. Expats living out there, but older than me, and they were quite well-to-do, like retired artists. There was a governess there, there was this there was all sorts of people going on there. So my friend introduced me to them. There was a couple of gay guys there who I used to play backgammon with, so I sort of mingled in with the straight crowd, but I loved it. I mean, the Casbah, I was around it. It was all corruption. It was right up my street. And I got right involved out there, and had some fun. had some fun, and I fell in love with the place. And the attic popped up, and I started to enjoy the nightlife there. I should have been working, but I sort of gravitated to the cocaine and the women a little bit. Sorry if that offends you, Trace.
Was the drug scene different there?
Very much so. It was
How?
more cloak and dagger. The cannabis was like it's their product. You know, it's not. It doesn't seem like an illegal substance to them. And so it's everywhere. It wasn't heavy. It wasn't sort of a cocaine scene. You had to be careful there. It was more of a sort of a drinky cannabis scene. But across the road in Marbella, you could get what you want and do what you like there. You know? Was
there an element of danger in Morocco?
I lived on that. That was a buzz for me. That was a buzz for me. I was a mixture of an opposite. I could be very fearful, and yet I could be fearless. And a situation happened to me which was quite unusual. When I went into this place with one of these guys, there was a few heavy Moroccans there.
What place is this?
This is Morocco, and we're going on a meeting to see the quality of the stuff that we got arrested for. So I want to try it, and they said they wasn't happy about that. It was like as if I was discrediting them or not believing them. But I'm an addict. I want to puff. So and this is Michael to a T. So we're in this beautiful building. It was like a 50 pence piece shaped building, like a big turret. It was lovely. It was all sort of open windows and pretty girls and children and all sorts of things going on. And I'm up in this room with these two guys. One of them's armed.
What do the guys look like?
Just tough-looking geezers, but I never used to take the notice of that. That never used to bother me. I think it was more of a show. But they think that we're coming from an organised criminal syndicate in London, and you know they think things about you, and you use that to your advantage. So I'm the son of one of them, and I'm having a puff, but I've got really stoned, and I shouldn't have done it. And I've put my feet up on the side, and they're all looking at me. But I've gone. I'm meant to be having a good conversation. I'm not coherent. I've gone. So I'm getting banged in the ribs. A little mouse comes from behind the curtain, and it frightened me. And I've jumped up and went, "My God, there's a mouse!" The geezer with the gun went, "Yeah, you know, what's the big deal?" And that was my vulnerability. Now, 3 months later, I'm nicked with a gun being pointed at me. And not because I'm not frightened of guns, but I had no fear when I got arrested. And I thought about it the other day. I thought, you was frightened of a mouse. That sort of, and yet you're not frightened of this crazy arrest. It was a big arrest. It was a naughty arrest. And I wondered what that was in me. And it was always that yin and yang, that opposite in me, that abused child, that frightened, where, you know, why am I being abused? Crying out, someone help me, in my head. So I could function in that, but I could also function in a very brave, sort of gallant man. But it confused me.
Before you got arrested, did you have any inkling? Was anything out of the ordinary starting to happen?
What, in the atmosphere, do you mean?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Can you describe what was happening?
Well, what was happening was we found out that it was on us, yeah? I'm not going to say how, but you can imagine how we found out. And the first enterprise, the first deal that went over in the Bristol Channel, they'd watched us.
This was an aborted mission, was it?
That was the aborted mission, yeah.
So they knew they were being watched, so they decided to abandon the project.
Well, that wasn't our shout at that particular time. These people had come from a place called Cape Verde, and it had nothing to do with us that bit. Yeah, they travelled and whatever they'd done, changed ship, so they say. But it was on them because of the cocaine runs that the other people were doing. It was massive. I mean, when it came out in the papers, it was massive. It was huge. Now, we was only a link in the chain, but it was organised international crimes. The Americans was on it. Allegedly they'd opened a bank account in the Cayman Islands, and drew this South American cartel to put their money in there. I don't know how they managed to do that. But when they got nicked, there was tons of cocaine, nothing to do with us, a Moyet painting, copious amounts of money, and we're using the same bit of transport, not that we knew, to bring the cannabis home. Now, we wasn't in charge of that bit. We was in charge of the entry with a fisherman down in Bideford. So when they aborted out in the Bristol Channel, I think something went on. I'm not sure. There was another boat spotted, apparently. I'm with Boris the bastard, the Boris kid. He was a lunatic, this geezer. We stayed in an hotel that night, and we was in these 2 beds, and he had a chest on him. It was like a big barreled chest. And when he took his shirt off, he had a crucifix on him. It was that big, yeah. And I've looked at it, and I didn't have faith then, but my nan was a Catholic, so I knew about Jesus and all what went on, and I respected the church. Anyway, he took this crucifix off. It must have weighed, I don't know, it was a right heavy thing. I think I had to give him a hand getting it off. Put it on the table, and he looked at it, he put his hand on top of it, and he said, Michael, this is a gift from God, this cannabis. So I said, okay. And this is a gift. Anyway, we lose it. The following day, he ain't too happy.
How did you lose it?
Well, we don't know. It gets aborted.
Oh, this is the aborted load.
This is the aborted lot. So, very foolishly, my old man says, get out of there. But we want to go and find out what's going on. Yeah. So, we've got a car that's not registered to no one, and we drive to Swansea, where the boys have come in who've aborted the load, and there was a Frenchman and these 3 Africans. It's like someone died on this boat. But Boris is just as brazen. He walks in, I don't. I put a balaclava on me, a scarf, and I jump over the fence. Not that it done me any good, and it was being by the customs. So we go on this boat. There's an outrageous argument. No one gets hurt, but there's an outrageous. And Boris is going, we go diving. It's November or January. We dive. It's ruined. You know, he wants to dive for it. It's 20
the drugs were thrown overboard.
The drugs were thrown overboard.
Gotcha.
They say it was 10 ton. Yeah. So that was that. Now we're being watched. We all leave. As I'm driving down the road, I get pulled over by a patrol car that the customs wanted to know who was in the car. So they didn't know I was in the car. So they give me a pull for speeding. They're just finding out who I am. I was going to give a wrong name, but I never. I thought, no, I don't want to cause any trouble. We've done nothing wrong up until now. Anyway, Boris goes off and I go off. They let us go. But the operation had now, it had taken place and they was on it and they wanted us. So we found out via someone who knew somebody. They said, look, it's on you. So I was living in Spain at the time anyway. So we go back to Spain and we down tools for a number of months. But, you know, greed plays a funny part in your life. You're used to the huge amount of money that you're trying to earn. And it's the buzz as well. You're addicted to it. So we went back to work. And in November the 7th, in the early 90s, we bought 4.5 ton in. I know it was 5 ton.
So you said the load that was dumped was 10 ton, was it?
They say it was 10 ton.
They said it was 10. They like the headlines.
Yeah.
But then you came along with 4.5 ton.
Of our own.
Of your own.
Well, of a consortium.
Okay, so when the 10 ton was dumped, usually someone's going to be held responsible when there's that amount of loss in an operation like this.
Yeah.
Are you able to say what kind of would the aftermath would be of that to the people that they would be held responsible?
Well, what it was, because the 10 ton allegedly came out of a bigger lump, right?
And did you say this was coke or weed?
No, this is cannabis.
This is cannabis. Hash.
So allegedly there was loads of it. Yeah, 10 tons enough, but they say there was more. Now, whatever they do, what I've been told is how they operate. So there's different responsibilities at different given times. So our responsibility only came into play if we'd have picked it up. And we wasn't the owners of that. we was doing someone a service by making an entry into the UK. So it had nothing to do with us other than we was going to bring it into the UK. Our boat was a fishing vessel. He was a tough kid, this fisherman, and he hid up in Lundy Island. Bad weathers. Anyway, it gets aborted. So basically, we was safe. Whatever happened after that, only God knows. I never found out, and I never ventured to find out.
So you said there was a Frenchman and 3 other guys.
Yeah, 3 Africans.
So they would have been in trouble, would they?
Well, I suppose if it gets aborted, it gets aborted. Yeah.
Or is that like from the top? They just say abort it.
I would imagine so. I imagine that they realised that they was in trouble. Yeah, and there'd probably been some activity that they'd seen. And 10 ton is, so they say, it's a lot to get rid of. I mean, it's quite a lot. But they managed to do it. And when they done that, they then got one of the HMS sort of boats, Royal or whatever they are there, I don't know what they're called. They went out and towed them in.
If you get caught with that, what kind of sentence are you looking at?
Well,
10 ton?
Maximum's only 14 years, but it's the fine you've got to be careful of. It's the fine that you can sort of double your figures up, you know, if it's a huge amount. And you have to pay it or do the bird or do the prison sentence.
And that adds time on.
Absolutely, it's the fine, and they work it out. If you just arrive with 10 ton, they don't think it's the first time you've done it.
So you've got money in the bank somewhere.
Something's hidden somewhere. But the operation that was going on behind this was massive. It was international. They was Bosnians, Italians. There were some people from the States. It was heavy going. We wasn't part of that consortium. We was an add-on for the entry into the UK. So then they came back and asked, do we want to get involved again? And I said yes. Yeah. And so we attempted to similar deal. I'd like to explain it to you, but I can't. Very exciting it was, but I can't put that out on here. So we got involved. We put our operation in place. Our little fishermen went out again, and we secured it. Yeah, unbeknown to us that they was being watched the whole time. And there's a tidal. At Bideford, there's a tide that goes out and comes into the harbour. So we was due home on the midnight tide on November the 7th. So we're hanging about down in Bideford, me and my associates, and we go into the town just to get some food and just have a little look around, see what you get that sort of 6 cents and you have a look about. And see 1 or 2 things I didn't like. So my back went up a little bit. And all of a sudden, out of the pub comes the fisherman who's meant to be out at sea. His surname was Fishley. I'm sorry, Dick. He was a strong character, this guy. Proper. You wouldn't like to get a right hand off this fisherman. And he falls out of the pub. I said, well, what are you doing? He went, your shit's over there. And where the water had gone out, it'd come in on the morning tide without telling anybody. Yeah. So when the tide had gone out, the boat's on its capsize, waiting for the water to come back in to raise the boat up. So the boat's there, we got it. It's home and dry. There's 4.5 ton. I thought, that'd do. And the security around these people, the secure measures that they took to secure this with Donald Duck voicemails and different run reviews, numbers, there was all that going on. It proved worthless. It proved worthless. So the gear's there. But the arrangement to take it off is when the tide comes up, we have to wait 12 hours. Now, I'd done my job. And I shouldn't really be there. My dad told me not to be there, but it was greed.
Yeah.
It was greed. Yeah.
What was the street value and what was your piece?
The street value was, I suppose, it's about 10 mil.
In that time period of money or now?
Yeah, I can't tell you my piece. It was enough though.
So it was worth 10 million back then?
Yeah.
So if you forward decades then, how much is it worth today? Like 20, 30 mil?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.